My diagnosis was devastating. That's an understatement of the century. But what I found was immediately following my diagnosis, I really needed time to initially grieve that you go through, starting with shock and denial, and then you kind of get really angry, and then you get really sad.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to the VoCP Talks, a platform to empower the cancer community. Our guest speaker today is Erin Soto. Erin is a stage 3 colorectal cancer survivor and an integrative health coach. She is the founder of Living Well Inner Circle Wellness app, and she's also a best-selling author. So thank you so much for joining us today, Erin. Let's get started with the questions. Let's start talking about your diagnosis first. Could you tell us about getting diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer and all the treatments that you had to undergo?
Sure. The last thing that I had expected to receive in my 37th year was a stage 3 cancer diagnosis. I often tell people I had been living what seemed like the average life of a very busy, overly committed mom of 4 and a wife, and just going through the motions of life. When the illness kind of showed up and started to ravage my body, steal my identity, and eventually, threaten everything I held dear. It had started off with general GI, digestive-related concerns, which ultimately turned into a full-blown health catastrophe, and my world just came to a crashing halt when I was delivered the diagnosis of stage 3 colorectal cancer. As for treating and the treatment of stage 3 colon cancer, it was about a year-long process for me. It was in November of 2019 when I went in to surgery to remove a 2-inch tumor and 6 inches of my sigmoid colon. And since cancer was detected there, that meant I had to go through a grueling chemotherapy and I was prescribed 12 rounds, which is common for colon cancer patients in particular, to do the full FOX regimen, 5-FU and the infamous OX. And my overall, like I said, the overall cancer treatment, that entire process from surgery through the 12 rounds of chemo was about 8 to 9 months. And then again, the waiting game to see if it had been effective and go through the cancer tests 3 months later to find out it indeed had worked.
Okay, it certainly turned your world upside down, I think. And 1 year of treatments, that's a lot. Okay, so after getting diagnosed, how did it affect your mental health? It must have been really exhausting, even mentally. And how did it affect your relationship with everybody around you?
Yeah, understandably, my diagnosis was devastating. That's an understatement of the century. But what I found was immediately following my diagnosis, I really needed time to initially grieve that you go through, starting with shock and denial, and then you kind of get really angry, and then you get really sad, and then you eventually kind of work your way through all the emotional and mental turmoil that comes with that shock, fear, sadness, anger. Eventually when I was done with the heartbreak, I discovered, at least for me, that the best way I was gonna manage, and I often say, I wrote in my best-selling book, and I say this in the courses and those that I coach, mindset for me in that early phase, a new mindset was going to be the most important form of medicine there is. I also instinctively understood at that time that how I reacted, how I responded to all that was going on around me.
Okay. So the mindset, you had to force yourself to believe and put your step forward. Also, you mentioned your children, so I would like to know how you managed being a parent alongside the diagnosis and all the treatments.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, mindset is a huge factor, right? And I think that's something I had learned early on. And I knew I'd walked hard paths before, but I was also going to walk this one too with cancer and do it while setting an example for others along the way. As far as parenting with cancer, bills still have to be paid. Homework needs to be done. Your kids need to be driven to extracurriculars, laundry, groceries, just this never-ending parental responsibilities. And that's a unique set of circumstances that parents in particular do have to face that other cancer patients don't. And to let my husband or my parents or my sister or family members and friends come in and take over, and accepting help and receiving it, and the willingness to be comfortable with that and not see it as a form of weakness. So I struggled with that initially, but I talk a lot about it in my book, and then understanding how how much help you really will need, and the areas of help that I've kind of addressed that you could really use, from driving to meals to household work, to taking your kids on play dates when you're in treatment, or just to get them out of the house because you can't take them for a hike. Accept help, and then also prioritizing as a parent something you really fail to do yourself and your needs and the time that you need to rest and recover during treatment, which is debilitating. Saying, hey, mom's going to be in bed, mom's sick, mom's on chemo, and it's hard because you want to get out there and do all the things we're used to.
So accepting help from your support system and focusing on yourself, that was the main thing you could do during this time.
Yeah, and understand how to talk with your children and seek help or counseling. And again, I really go into detail on what you might. I share my firsthand experience of what happened in my family in hopes that you prepare others maybe going through this, because that was something as a young adult, I didn't know a lot of people my age or parents who I could turn to. And so I made sure to address this in detail in my book. It was important.
Okay, so you are now an integrative health coach. So how did you get on this journey? What motivated you to become one?
I think I was the first patient I ever treated as an integrative health coach. The reality was this cancer, was a wake-up call in my life that I really did need to start taking better care of myself and better care of my family, right? In effort to protect and hopefully prevent them from ever having to go through this. And it actually sparked this burning desire in me to become a very active participant in my recovery and my healing journey. And I embarked on a wellness revolution to reclaim control over my health and my happiness and my power. I've never looked back. I ultimately started off I did my research at first, and I wanted to find ways that I could back up my medical team's work and give myself the best chance at surviving. And I knew there were ways I could help the process. And ultimately, I concluded the best way to treat the whole person, not just my disease, try to get down at addressing what the root cause, right? We now know, especially in the last 5 years, we've learned so much about chronic illness and, how we're living in a chronic disease epidemic. Now, actually, almost 80% of chronic health issues are attributed to lifestyle choices. Again, I just learned so much through my own journey.
That's truly inspiring, the fact that you were researching for yourself because you wanted to do more than just the conventional treatment, and then you wanted to share it with others as well.
Yes.
Really inspiring.
And there is a lot of, unfortunately, misinformation.
Misinformation, yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were mentioning diet and nutrition and how it can help with prevention as well as the treatments. What are your biggest tips regarding the foods consumed by cancer patients?
Yeah, you are what you eat is the truest statement you will ever hear, especially when it comes to healthy habits. And diet is not a metaphor, it's a fact. What we put in our bodies not only can impact your mood and energy and physical health, but like I said, it can cause cancer. And so following my own diet, for example, the last thing I wanted to do was continue eating the same foods that I had been eating prior to my diet. My husband's in real estate. I always joke, location. Well, my digestive tract had a tumor in it. So my doctors and my surgeons at the time said, oh, you can just recover from the surgery. And as soon as you're fully recovered, just keep eating the foods you're used to eating. And I instinctively knew, no, absolutely not. That's not the route I'm going to go. I knew there had to be a diet and disease. And among the majority of trusted experts in the cancer community, there seems to be this shared consensus around healing cancer through nutrition. Practically all the latest scientific research and basically suggests 4 primary dietary changes for overall health in all forms of chronic, but particularly chronic illness, but particularly cancer. To reduce or eliminate meat, dairy, sugar, and refined foods. Again, you don't have to completely eliminate, but reduce consumption, right? Increase your fruit and vegetable intake, eat organic, drink clean, filtered water, a lot of legumes and protein, fiber foods, and the bulk of the latest research, some people don't like it, but it's true, is supports that eating less meat with a lot more evidence on how we're moving towards a more health. I put it this way to people I coach. I always say that moderation is key to everything. You can be vegan. I went full vegan when I had cancer in cancer crushing mode because of the statistical studies that I share a lot in my book and in my program. But you can also be vegan, right? Moderation is key. you want to go have the ice cream or eat the steak or your favorite meal on a holiday, absolutely continue eating the same foods you love. Fear of food is a no-no, especially with cancer. Oh my goodness, there's so many things you're told don't eat that. But it's understanding the science behind it and then making a choice based on your needs, your family needs, of how to address that. Cancer is the second leading cause of death here in the United States, but estimates suggest that as much as a third of all cases could have been avoided just with diet and nutrition alone. My program and my book, I offer recipes and meal plans that were designed with expert insight from dietitians to help you fuel your body for recovery and the vital nutrients you need to protect against forms of illness and to support remission status. But really, again, it shows you how to eat, what to eat, and how much of it you follow is up to you, right? That's a personal choice. I love food. I don't want anyone to have a fear of food, but it matters. And knowing what and how is an important part of your recovery process.
Moderation is key, and it also depends on each person, what they eat, how much they eat. Yeah. Okay, so apart from diet, does skincare and hair care also, do people need to be mindful about their skincare, hair care, or the ingredients used in these products that they use?
Yes. What you put on your body is just as important as what you put in it, right? And I think most people understand that and know that. The pervasive use of toxic chemicals found in common household and personal care products is appalling, right? A lot of underregulated ingredients out there, particularly where we live here in the US, unfortunately. So it's imperative in today's world to learn how to shop for safer and cleaner ingredients. And the good news is consumer demand for safer and cleaner products is definitely on the rise, and there are a lot of great products out there, but you still need to champion protection on behalf of yourself and your loved ones. For the sake of time, I'll share a really quick, call it my not so dirty little secret, to help you easily identify ways that you can shop for safer products in a second, using an app called Think Dirty. There's a lot of apps now that do this, but basic product, scan the barcode while you're shopping in your store or online, and in a matter of seconds it will say green and clean, yellow with a few ingredients that it lists and tells you maybe why you want to reconsider, or for you if you're comfortable with that, and then red where it's dirty. What shocked me was how many products were labeled clean, organic, and safe. So I just bought them thinking I was being a responsible consumer.
Okay, so I think we should talk about your book a bit more. Could you tell us about your book, The Mother of All Fights? That's such an interesting title. And when did you decide to write down your experiences and share it with everyone else?
Yes. So The Mother of All Fights is the book that I very much wish at so many points in my own journey, right? I didn't write it to become a #1 best-selling author. It was great. It was the #1 best-selling book on Amazon under cancer, but that's not why I wrote it. I wrote it when I was still in treatment. And it's really more of a deeply personal story, but also a practical roadmap for thriving in this time of uncertainty, where I share a lot of uncensored glimpse in the often harrowing and sometimes shocking twists and turns of what ultimately in the end it's a survivorship story that's meant to be inspiring, but I hope that the lessons about my life will help the reader own.
Yeah, I think we are almost out of time. So would you like to share your message for cancer patients and survivors in the community here?
Yes. If you're currently in the midst of going through cancer treatment, I'm living proof that cancer is not in control. You are. I know that this time is filled with ups and downs, but you have to remember there are many survivors out there here to support you.